Okay, so I hope it works. So I'm going live now, and I don't see it. Wow, what's going on? So I need to know if I am live or not. Oh my God. Oh, that's it. It's on first. Uh, does it work? So yeah, I struggle with the communication. Okay, can you tell me, people? Hi, everybody. Can you tell me if you see me live? Because I really struggle with technical issues, and I want to make sure this is working. Okay, fantastic. So I can shut down YouTube now. Fantastic, guys. Hi, everyone. Hi, Luna Aaron. Hi, Donapass was first. Simon, Petehead. Great to see you there. Again, apologies for the technical issues. I don't know what's going on. It's YouTube fault. I tried to announce it, and it was only on private mode while appearing in public mode. But never mind. Now it works. It works. Fantastic. Hi, Michael, as well. What I wanted to do today is something a bit weird, maybe for some people, because I've never been to Islay, but it's a kind of La Mecca for me. Place I would love to go, would love to visit someday. And with everything on Twitter, on social media, different things, the magic of it is that you can speak to some people you don't know, and you can also like what they do, dialogue with them. And then whiskey is about bottles, about landscapes, etc. But most of all, you know it, guys, because you're all there. It's about people sharing the love of whiskey, the love of people, and to people who, even if you haven't met them, they know how to speak about whiskey. They know to speak about life, and they do something sometimes extraordinary, in my opinion. Shame on me for what? Okay. I don't understand. Never mind. So before I bring my guest, I'm going to explain. I have some questions here. David will listen and answer to them as much as he can. There will be a surprise that's not a surprise now, but there will be some music at the end. And I hope you will know more about not only BUNNAHABHAIN distillery, but the man itself. So please, let's welcome now the man, the one and only David.
Hello, good evening. How are you, Greg?
Oh, fantastic. I had a hard week, so I'm very happy to have you now to change my mind and to change everybody's mood, if we can. For those who don't know David, I will let you introduce yourself about
Absolutely.
the distillery, but you're also doing something extraordinary for me. You're doing kind of daily weather forecasts, minute or two videos on Twitter. So you're sometimes you speak about other topics, but mostly you're showing your island and your dogs, okay, and the landscape, and your and for us it's something very precious. You don't even imagine, because many of us haven't been there yet. And like I said, it's a kind of La Mecca of whiskey for many of us, Islay. So
Well, to
yeah.
be honest, Greg, I think that the shame on you comment was about the fact that that you've not actually been.
Oh, okay. Oh
I'm
no,
trying to
I
get
know.
myself in the middle of this picture here. There we are. That's better. I think the shame on you comment was based on the fact that you still have not been to Islay.
I know, but there's
So
been
so
COVID
I'll
thing in
repeat it.
between.
Shame on you.
Yeah. Okay,
Can
so
I just say thank you very, very much for inviting me to
are
come
you
on
very
to your show. It's a pleasure to be here. This is a particularly busy night on the internet. There are events on all over the place, but I'm delighted that some people have come on to hear some of the nonsense that I've probably got.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be more than you think. Like I said to you backstage, you should be more confident. And there you go, Dave.
Well,
I've seen the series, but it's on the
I will
plan,
introduce
Dave.
myself formally to yourself, but to the people watching. My name's David Brodie. My title is tour guide at BUNNAHABHAIN distillery. And to be honest, I'm probably the least important person in the whisky industry that you've ever had on your program, Greg. But when I say that, that's what I simply mean is that I'm kind of down at the bottom of the tree with regards to the pyramid of power. But I don't take that, as lightly as it sounds, because it's the most important building block in the pyramid is the bottom row. So I'll hopefully be able to throw a bit of light on that.
Can I comment that? You know what? When of my small experience, less than 10 distilleries, the tour guide is one of the most important thing you will remember after you visit, if it's well done and if it's not well done. And I got several examples of both. So I don't think you're the least important person in your company and in whiskey, because like I said, it's all about the people, and it's all about sharing things and how you're gonna pour the whiskeys and explain, or even just pour them and ask people their reaction, or just have fun with them. And at the end of the day, people will remember, and whether they are connoisseurs or newbies, they will remember, oh, we saw this guy David, it was fantastic, entertaining, the whiskeys were good, and we had a wonderful time. And this they will remember for a long time. So we don't care the position in which you are.
The people who come through the door into distilleries generally are not going to be there where they're going to be seeing the people who are a little bit further up in authority within the distillery.
Sure.
They're going to be seeing the guys that are on the front line, and it just so happens that's what I do, and I'm one of the oldest guys doing it, because it tends to be the way into the whiskey industry for a lot of people, particularly people who are going to take it on as being a career. But it also is a station that people like myself who are kind of getting on in their life are able to get off at that station and start to enjoy their work and their job. And if you enjoy it, you'll bring a bit of enthusiasm to it, and hopefully that will be reflected in how you deal with the people who come to see you. So yeah, that's where I am in the big picture, if you like.
We have other people coming in. Hi, Graham. Hi, Hoyt from the USA, if I'm not mistaken. Simon says, David, let me share this comment. It's better. You see the comment, David?
Simon, thank you very much for that.
I guess he went there.
That's as good as I can hear. I love that. Thank you.
And there you go.
Lovely. That's great to hear.
Lots of love in the chat for you.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So can you tell us what did you do before doing the warehouse tours, if it's not too indiscreet?
No,
or how you started at
No. I've had quite a round the houses route to get into the job where I am. There was a time when I was a young thrusting career man. I didn't really thrust much, to be honest. When I left school, to kind of put in the picture, I will turn 59 years of age in February. So I've been kicking around for a while. But I grew up in a town called Helensburgh, which is about 20 miles west of Glasgow. I'm going to say I was okay at school. I wasn't, you know, one of the ones up at the back of the class who were given a pencil and a piece of paper to draw on. But I came through school okay.
I'm not asking as far as that.
No. Hey.
You say what you want.
This matters. This matters because this is how we got there. I didn't go to university. So my father thought this boy had better get a job. And one day at the dinner table, he put a piece of paper in front of me and said, fill that out. And it was an application for the bank. So I dutifully filled out this application and I found myself working in the Royal Bank of Scotland as a 17-year-old man.
Wow.
And that was 1979. And many years later, 2005, I was still in the Royal Bank and not enjoying my job anymore, even although I'd already been a bank manager for a number of years, for 12 years or something. I was not enjoying the job and I decided to get out. So I left. And I was living in Islay at that time. I was living in Islay and I thought, I need a job. So
just to make people, sorry to interrupt you, you have a beautiful, amazing accent, but you told me you were not born in Islay. It's not in Islay, right?
I know. I will slow down.
No, it's not what I'm saying. Where your accent is coming from, I know, but maybe people think you're born in Islay, but you're not, right?
No, I'm originally from Helensburgh, so 20 miles west of Glasgow. My accent is a little bit Glaswegian.
Okay.
And even after 30 years in Islay, it hasn't softened up. Here's Ursula telling me it's a Glaswegian accent. It is. It is. But 30 years in Islay, I'm still left with the same accent, sadly. So I left the bank 2005. I had to get some work and I started working in one of the hotel bars on Islay. And that was the Macrae Hotel. People who are familiar with Islay will know the Macrae as being the golf course, and it's changed over the last 6 or 7 years. It has been completely rebuilt. It is now a fabulous hotel. Back in those days, it was a converted farmhouse, a little bit rough around the edges, but it had an okay whiskey bar. And that's where I cut my teeth, because up until then, I only drank to get drunk. I didn't drink whiskey with any interest other than the effects.
But that's very frank of you to say that.
But working behind the bar in the Macrae, I had to start learning a little bit about whiskey. Now, the gantry itself was not an Islay gantry. It had what I would say are your cooking whiskies from the Islay distilleries, your basics, a Bowmore 10, an Ardbeg 10, a Bruichladdich 10, so on and so forth. They also had a fair range of Speysides, Highlands, etc. There was about 80 whiskies, but only about 12 of them were Isleys. But I had to start to learn about whiskey. I then got a very strange phone call one day from a gentleman who many people who have been to Islay will know, and it's a gentleman called Duffy McNeil. Now, Duffy is the Duffy in Duffy's Bar, the whiskey bar at the Lochside Hotel, which was a very famous whiskey bar in Gantry. And I answered the phone this day, and Duffy has a very distinct accent. I picked it up, and I hears, "Hello, Davy." And I thought, this is Duffy. "Hello, Duffy. How are you doing?" "Aye, I'm fine. A little bird tells me that you might be interested in some work." And I'm like, Not a clue. Don't know. But I'll play along. Yeah, Duffy. Yeah. What work is that? Because I do a little bit of DJing and I do the music, and I'm thinking maybe he's wanting me to do some music, but probably not. I want you to come and run the bar. Now, I knew that the hotel was up for sale, but I went to speak to him, and I went in as his bar manager, and I took the license on to facilitate the sale.
Okay.
The new owner came in, kept me on. He ran the hotel himself for about 6 months, but didn't get on with it. And he put myself and my wife in charge. And we then ran the Lochside Hotel for the next 3 years or so. Now, that meant that I was fully in charge of all the buying and selling of the whiskey. And I had to really up my game with regards to knowledge, which I did. But we got to a stage about 6 years ago where the chap who had bought it from Duffy was selling it. The hotel was sold. The new people came in and they were bringing a new manager in with them. So I was without work. And I was at an age where I could have said, I could maybe stop, just not work anymore, but I want to work. What am I going to do? And I applied to Bunnahabhain for a job as a tour guide.
Directly?
Yeah. It was the right time. It was about March time, and Bunnahabhain were really only starting to get serious about the visitor experience, because at that time it was operating out of a shop, which is no bigger than this kitchen that I'm sitting in just now. It was very small scale, but they were looking to improve. So applied and I got in, and I just wish that I'd made that decision 20 or 30 years earlier, because
you enjoyed.
I went from a nearly 30-year career as a bank manager, or latterly a bank manager, where you're talking to people, they're in your room, and they would rather be anywhere else in the world than with you. And you go to a distillery, and the people are only with you because they want to be there. And it's a different world, it's fantastic.
I understand that. It's interesting.
So that's it. I know it was a long story, but that's
no. It's interesting. It explains. It means a lot. It's exactly.
And you know, just as an aside, we don't have many visitors on the island just now, as I'm sure you can imagine.
I wanted to ask you about the current situation, and also because there's some great work coming in, moving the warehouses to extend the center. So if you
the reason I mentioned that was the fact that I kind of fell into this job later on in my working life was, of the few visitors who we had in today, I actually met a gentleman called Gus, and Gus is essentially me at Oban Distillery. He came into the job later in his life, and he loves it. And he's a nice guy. So, and he actually said to me, he said, if you're talking to anybody in the world who might visit Oban Distillery, just say Gus's name and he will give a massive discount to everybody.
That's a tip.
Yeah. he didn't say that, but say that he did.
Lots of people praising the fact that you're doing wonderful tour there. Lots of people agree with what you're saying, the commitment and all that.
Nice.
So can you say a bit of by the way, for those who don't know, this is a French edition, but there was as I told you, the English edition, the original one. There's an article this month about Bunnahabhain, and you're there. You're in. By the way. So they say you're extending the distillery is extending its visitor center. Maybe time because of the COVID, it makes it easier because of less visitors. It's not cool for you, but maybe it's a good bad for a good. I don't know how you.
Yeah, we have actually been. I'm going to say we've been very unfortunate with the timing of the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
The plans for the renovations and the extension have been in the pipeline for quite a long time. Now it's fantastic that they are happening and already what has happened, because when I went to the distillery, it wasn't so long after Distell. That's nice. Cheers, David. It wasn't so long after Distell had bought over from Burn Stewart, and they obviously took their time to kind of get themselves into place. But we found the guy with the checkbook, and he agreed to make a big investment into Bunnahabhain because it's a tired looking place. I actually like the fact that we're not like all the other distilleries. So many of the distilleries in Islay are shiny, bright, very white. They've got fountains, they've got this, they've got that, they've got the next thing. We are a working distillery who welcomes visitors rather than trying to be a visitor attraction that happens to make whiskey. You know what I mean? You know, I like the working aspect of it.
The location is beautiful, as you show it in the Twitter when you short views of the distillery yesterday or today. I have a question for you from our good friend Graham. I don't know if
I see that question. What was the single malt that converted David to quality whiskey?
If you remember,
I'm not biased. I'm not biased.
Well, you have your answer.
Yeah, it is, and as far as my favourite whiskey ever, you can guess it's a Bunnahabhain, but I have to say that it was my favourite whiskey long before. Here we go.
This or that. For me, this was my discovery of the.
I'm going with this one. I'm going with this one because.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because to me, natural colour, unchilled, filtered is important. Yeah.
Well, cheers to you, David, and to everyone tonight. Having the 12-year-old.
To everybody who's taking a little piece of time out of their Saturday evening to listen to.
Slanjava, everyone, and thank you, David, again.
Anyway, back to the renovations in the distillery. So the plans have been sort of fairly fluid for quite a while, and from our own, being selfish, from our own point of view, we desperately were looking for a new visitor centre. As I mentioned, when I started there 6 years ago-ish, we were in a little room at the top of the windy stairs, and that had been the space that had been allocated for the shop back when it was Lillian in the office and Andrew, the distillery manager, and before him, John. They ran the shop out of this little room.
I'm going to speak about that later on about John.
Absolutely, yeah. We came in to sort of try and give the visitor experience a little bit more depth, and we very, very quickly outgrew that little room at the top of the stairs. It got to the stage where we would very, very easily have a group in or have some visitors. 12 people, and that shop was shoulder to shoulder.
Oh, man.
More than 12 people, and they were out in the corridor, and that meant noise and disruption through the wall to the two rooms in the offices where Lillian as the distillery administrator and Andrew as the distillery production manager were trying to run the serious business of making whiskey. And it was
it's too small.
Okay. It was too much, it was too small, and there was conflict. It just didn't work.
Plus, we can guess you're gonna have more people now that you have a new neighbor, Ardnaho, and that you're trying to combine, as I understood, Eastern, because it's on the map.
Yeah,
Eastern Islay tour, guided tours with Kulila, Ardnaho, and you, if I'm not mistaken. So
that's right. Yeah, we started the Northeast kind of whiskey trail, which was in we did that along with our good friend Stuart Doyle, who runs the Islay taxis firm, and he was very, very helpful. He was administering all of the sort of bookings and everything to do with that, and it was very, very successful and really a good day out for the people who committed to it. Sadly, Diageo have drifted away. They're turning Caligula Distillery into a Johnny Walker experience.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
You know, a few other of their distilleries, and to match the new shop in Edinburgh. So, but ourselves in Ardnaho, we work closely together, because it's crazy for people to come up to our end of the island and visit one and not visit the other.
Yeah, sure. And the view is spectacular of what I know on pictures and videos.
It's superb. And it's also, it's a little bit like a microcosm, though, of the whole island, because we need Ardnaho to be good, and Ardnaho need us to be good. But that then multiplies. That goes around the whole island. People ask me about this, and I say, the question that we get is, are you in competition with these other distilleries? Are you in competition? And absolutely at the top of the companies, you know, if you speak to the bosses, yeah, we want to sell more than a bigger percentage rise than what they do. On Islay, it's Islay the brand. It serves nobody any favours if people come to Bunnahabhain and they have a good time, but they go to Beaumore and they have a bad time, because the impression is they had a bad time in Islay.
Yeah. If I understood you well, every Islay distillery represents the island before anything else, right?
Yes. Now that's maybe an island attitude. It's maybe a little bit insular to say that.
Yeah,
but
it's different than that.
Genuinely, it gives us no pleasure to have somebody come to us and say, "Oh, I was at that place and it wasn't very good," or you know, and it's not just the distilleries; it's everybody. We're all in this together.
People, I understand that. Yeah.
We're all in this together, and we speak to each other about it, and we push each other along, and we push customers towards each other and visitors. And you follow my Twitter account, Greg, and you only have to see the other businesses on Islay that we speak to, the bed and breakfasts and the hotels.
Oh yeah, there's some people. It seems to be beautiful.
Yeah, so it's important for us that everybody gives a good welcome to the people who visit, because it's a big commitment. Yeah.
I'm gonna go because.
Can I just say something?
Yeah. Go.
We're not drinking enough. Talking too much, not enough drinking.
Yeah. So, where I've poured this to start with, like I said, the regular 12.
Yeah.
And then I will move because I don't know any Bunnahabhain contemporary expression, which would be only bourbon cask matured, and I'm very curious of that. So for this purpose, I'm gonna move on to more peated Port Askeg, which I know this one is a Bunnahabhain, I've been told, but others are from Kulila, so be careful.
Most of them are Kulila.
Yeah. But for now, I'm on the the official.
The official 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same as myself. I've got some
that's
stuff.
fine.
Again, I'm moving the wrong way. I've got some stuff behind me that I'll maybe
Yeah.
have something special later.
It's better in this view,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, I pulled all my 6 different bottlings of Bunnahabhain that I gathered over the years. Not so much, but some are among my most beautiful. Sorry for the re-ranking. 41 years old Bunna from Adelphi, 1968 vintage.
Fantastic.
It's one of my, let's say, top 10 bottles of my collection. Really, when the thing with Bunnahabhain, well, let me say that at this point before I forget, which is absolutely amazing, is that how much it can be absolutely fantastic at very young age. I have a sample, for instance, of a 5 years old from Cadenhead, and at the same time beautiful at 40 years plus age, because of all the work of the year, when it is in good casks, of course, and it gains so much complexity, so much charm. And yeah, I love this distillery. I haven't been there yet. I will do definitely, and I hope to see you there, mandatory. But yeah, I'm very impressed that 4 or 5 years old only whiskeys can be so good.
Okay, there's a couple of things to that. One is that it's a very soft, gentle new make that we make. It's our stills. We've got very, very big stills. There's 2 pairs, very, very big stills. The actual wash stills are the biggest capacity wash stills in Scotland. But that's good. The thing though that makes the difference is, and you can just about see it in that photograph, is the line arms. The line arms are very long, and it's not, you can just about see it, and they are actually just about horizontal. The only angle is really the taper of the copper as it's narrowing down. So very long, very straight line arms. These vapors, as they're making their journey to the condenser, have an awful lot of contact with the copper. And it makes for a very soft, gentle spirit. Remember as well that it's a spring water we use. The water's coming off the Margadale spring on the Margadale River. And people wonder about the name. We get asked about the name a lot, Bunnahabhain. And that is Gaelic for mouth of the river. Yeah. Because the mouth of that Margadale River is only 200 metres from the distillery. So it's a spring water.
It's the only one, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. It's the only one in Islay and maybe in Scotland to have such a close from the distillery well, right?
Yeah. Source. And on Islay, I think, other than what Brocladie take from James Brown's farm at Octomore, I think we're the only ones using a spring water. I think everyone else is using a lochan or a loch. So it's a soft, gentle water. We've got these lovely long line arms, lots and lots of chemical reaction before the vapors ever hit the condenser. So nice soft spirit. Also, I have to say, especially since, as I say, Distell came on board, the cask quality has been fantastic. We really have been getting the best of casks. And if you have good casks, then the early stages of maturation, when the casks are doing what they call the subtractive maturation, where they're knocking the rough edges and the metallic tastes off of the new spirit, that happens so well, and it means that a young whiskey can be lovely, absolutely lovely.
I understand that, yeah. And then it's the work of someone we have to praise as well. I don't know her, but I've seen in Roy Aqvavitae show, and she was fantastic. Julianne Fernandez,
yes.
Master Blender.
And And Julianne is knocking it out the park just now with the releases. They are such a good quality. She worked beside Kirsty before Kirsty went away, so she had a good grounding there. And but
I have a question for you. Sorry,
yes.
From Luna. Can you tell where the bourbon cask come from?
Yes, I can do that, Luna. We have a main point of contact for our bourbon barrels, and that's a cooperage in Louisville in Kentucky, which people will know the name of, and that's the Kelvin Cooperage. Now, the Kelvin Cooperage, the name Kelvin is Glasgow. There is a River Kelvin, there's a Kelvinside area in Glasgow, and it's not a coincidence, because the guy who started Kelvin Cooperage was from Glasgow. He left Glasgow, he went out to Kentucky, and he started up the cooperage, and it's now his two sons who run the cooperage.
Fantastic.
So they're our main point of contact for our bourbon barrels, and what we get tend to be from the well-known names, the big hitters of the bourbon industry. So
several ones, so you don't want to.
Baker's Mark, Four Roses, Wild Turkey, Buffalo Trace, Seven Hill, all these kind of places.
Not only one source, right?
Not just the one source, no.
Because some distilleries use only one source, which can be...
No, we put our faith in the guys, and they don't let us down.
And can we say, David, sorry, you're still a wee distillery compared to the big ones in the Islay? I mean, Colilla, Lagavulin, you're so 2 millions and a bit more, 2 million one, 2 million five.
The way I break it down is the big one is Kalila.
Yeah, sure.
Right? I mean, there have been some years in the past when Kalila Distillery has made more spirit than the rest of the distilleries added together. They are big producers. But we know that most of what they make doesn't go into a bottle that says Kalila. That's why they are going to become a Johnny Walker experience. That's where most of their stuff goes.
And then, if you agree with me, I think we can say Lefroy and Colilla are the distilleries from Islay which provides the most the indie bottlers, right? Among the most. Because I see them all the time in lots of different brands.
Yeah, definitely Kalila. I mean, there's
Lefroy maybe less.
I'm seeing more and more Bunnahabhain. I don't mind saying it. I'm seeing more and more Bunnahabhain appearing in the independent bottlers' hands.
It's more recent. I think.
The other Diageos, no, you don't really see. They're very well. It's very difficult to get them to release any Lagavulin.
Yeah, I know.
As far as I can see, you know.
And Elixir Distillers has some. Finlagan single malt, which is wonderful. I guess it's from them. I can be wrong. Yeah. Someone asked a question here. Donna Pass from the USA asks, I think the answer is your own distilled blend. Yes. Maybe to others as well.
No, I can see the question here, Greg. Currently, is any Bunnahabhain sold to blenders? And the way I'm going to answer that is I'm going to tell you what I tell any visitors who ask me the same question. And that is, yes, we sell to blenders. No, we don't sell them Bunnahabhain. We sell them new make spirit.
Okay.
New make spirit goes into a big tanker on the back of an articulated lorry and leaves our premises. And as soon as it goes through those two gates, it's gone. We no longer have responsibility for casking or warehousing.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not Bunnahabhain. It's new make spirit. It's a raw ingredient. It's a core ingredient, but it's not Bunnahabhain whiskey. Bunnahabhain whiskey.
Yeah.
That
sure.
That is put into casks and goes into warehouses.
I will be curious to try the new make. I will be curious to try the new make when I'll be there.
Well, we have it in the shop. It's like a nice 20 cl bottle. is £30, but I think I can do it for £28 for you, Greg.
Thanks. Yeah, I saw on one of the pictures you sent me, and I found it fantastic that not only do you have 20 CL bottles, right, for people who are visiting to try several things and bring back, but also you have minis.
Yes.
So are they all the expressions available, or a single cask?
We try to do everything in 3CLs.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The 20 CL bottles tend to be the single casks from Warehouse
Yeah.
9.
Some with a crazy reputation in the YouTubers channel, right?
The casks have been, I mean, I don't know, I should have counted them from the start, but we must have had maybe now somewhere between 30 and 40 casks through Warehouse 9. And there's been a couple I would have said a bit ropey, but there's been no really bad ones, and there's been so many fantastic ones. But we always, when we started and the thing was just kind of growing, what we let people do was at the end of the tasting, they could draw their own whiskey out with the Valinche, fill their own little bottle, sign their label, pay their money, and away they went with their own personalised 20 CL bottle. And that was like about £35. And that was great, except that it took all day.
We have a question. We have a question from our pal Pithead. Do you think
samples and/or during these
Okay. I don't know if the distillery sells online.
I'm going to break a trade secret here, because we are, like so many of the distilleries, are having to bend with the times. And for the last couple of weeks and for the next few weeks, we have been filling and filling and filling little bottles, 3CLs, 20 CLs, and we are going to be selling online tasting packs. And
let us know when. Let us know when.
Have a theme, yeah. It might be a Warehouse 9, it might be festivals, it might be this, it might be that. But we're going to sell tasting packs. Whether the 20 CL bottles will come into the online, I'm not sure. But we have been putting some of the Warehouse 9 fillings into 70 CLs and putting them to the online as well. Because we have got so many. We have got so many good friends who come over year after year after year. I've got people who have been in my warehouse tasting 5 and 6 times, and they must be so fed up. They don't want to hear me. They want the whiskey, because the whiskey is so good. So it's coming, and we will be doing more online tastings to match the tasting packs.
Fantastic. That's great news. I'm going to move on to my questions, because we're only we're far.
I know. We're nearly out of time already, and we've not said anything.
No, but that's fantastic. Fantastic. About visitors, well, you're talking about visitors. What's the most often asked question to you by them, and that you're fed off? And then on the contrary, the least one.
I never get fed up with the name. And I've actually answered one of the questions that we get asked a lot, and that is, well, we get asked about pronunciations a lot.
Oh, yeah.
How do you say the name?
So please say it again for us, because I'm sure I butchered it.
Okay. And it will make no sense. BUNNAHABHAIN.
BUNNAHABHAIN.
Bo.
It's not a bu. It's bo.
It's not bu, it's BUNNAHABHAIN.
BUNNAHABHAIN. Okay.
And the BH. Oh, here we go. The BH is V.
Ah. Okay.
Because the Gaelic alphabet didn't get all the letters. So the Gaelic language uses letters to make sounds together. So BH is V. So it's
now, tricky question. You're not obliged to answer.
Hey, Graham, there are some fantastic casks in the other warehouses. What I will say is that Warehouse 9 is the youngest of the warehouses. Okay. So essentially, the casks that you get to taste in Warehouse 9, some of them have come from the other warehouses. Warehouse 9 has only existed for about 10 years.
Which is the oldest in the distillery? From
Which,
what year?
funnily enough, is a regularly asked question, and I think just now it's a 1978. I might be wrong. There's 1970s casks. So planning and digging.
Fantastic, Meno.
Why not? Why not?
And then the most unusual question, if it's interesting, of course.
Sure.
You have been asked.
Right. Well, again, an often asked question is, how do you get your product in and out? It surely doesn't come down that windy road, because I know you've not been, Greg, but to give you the illusion, Bunnahabhain sits at the end of a 4-mile, 7-kilometre windy single track road with passing places on it. And yeah, it is. It's a narrow road. So people think there's no way that absolutely everything that we need and everything that we make comes in and out on that road. Now we have the pier. You will have seen the jetty, the pier in my videos and in my photographs. But nowadays that is only for leisure craft. It used to be the only transport.
Now, I don't understand why, because...
So we started there in 1881. We made our first spirit in 1883. And back then, your only transportation was ships.
The horse.
You didn't have road transport.
Okay.
So, and again, people say, why are all the distilleries, with the exception of Kilchoman, why are all the distilleries beside the sea? Because that was the transport.
Oh, so we had a question, but I don't know the answer. I have a 41-year-old here.
Yeah.
But I don't have the question is more for...
I presume by now. We can't answer that question because that's an independent bottling. And I don't know whether they emptied the whole cask in one go. Whisky does not age in the bottle. I'm sure that's something that most of the people who are watching this are aware of.
And it's 3 casks only put together, 3 sherry butts, pithead.
Yeah.
So
no, that one won't get older. But
no.
It doesn't really work too well to only partially bottle a cask, because you get into all sorts of difficulties.
No.
Paying the duty and all these kind of things. So it's easier just doing one cask at one time. Go. Yeah. We talked about Warehouse 9 and the fact that it's only been around for 10 years. The building itself used to be the malting floors in Bunnahabhain distillery. Now, Bunnahabhain stopped doing their own malting 60 years ago.
Many others.
Early 1960s. And the building, which is in the compound where production is, the building then lay largely unused for about 50 years. But we needed more warehousing, so it was converted into a warehouse. We have 2 areas which are duty-paid sections. So when we select our casks, the duty is paid on them, they're rolled into place, and you're able to do your tastings and sell the whisky.
Very interesting, thank you. About warehouse tours, I had a question. What would you say have changed the most since you started? In the way of doing tours, or the way people are coming and what for, or the most important changes you saw, let's say in your last decade or 5 years?
Well, we've only been doing them in the time that I've been there. So we're talking 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
When we started, I believe probably already by that time, Ian was doing warehouse tastings down at Aqvavitae. Now Ian's my pal, and we get on well. And when I'm doing my tastings, I say terrible things about Ian, and I'm sure when Ian's doing his tastings, he says terrible things about
it's a
me.
tradition.
Yeah, but I'll be honest. When we started the Warehouse 9 tastings, I had not been to one of Ian's tastings. Now, I have since been to them. So when we started, essentially, we were given 3 casks of whiskey and told to get on with it. So it was, how are we going to do this? We know that we're going to give people a chance to bottle their own whiskey at the end of it, but we have to be able to tell them about the whiskies. That means we have to learn a little bit about the casks, and that was just the starting point. And we've essentially built on that as time has gone by. So we're at the stage now, Greg, when we know the kind of casks we want to get in. We go to Julianne and we say, we would like to have ammonia. We'd like a peated one. We need a young one. Is there maybe a bourbon? We need another dark sherry. We need another Pedro Jimenez. Whatever it happens to be. We have an idea ourselves of what we want. We go to Julianne because she's the girl with the knowledge of what's there. She's the girl who's got the list. She's got her inventory of the 20,000 casks that sit in Bunnahabhain. And she will then come back to us and say, well, you could have this, you could have that, you could have this Monial Rosso, you could have this, there's a little bourbon barrel there. Oh, we've got a wine hogshead there. Oh, we've got a port pipe. Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want? Yes, we do. Once the casks are selected, then it's up to us to get the knowledge about the casks, because that's what the people want to know. Now I've kind of worked on my generic knowledge. I've tried to learn as much about sherry as I can. I know nothing about port. I need to learn more about port. Wine kind of speaks for itself. Bourbon, people have an idea about bourbon, but not too much. But bourbon's fairly straightforward in comparison to something like sherry. Sherry is very, very involved. It's highly underrated. It's highly misunderstood. And people don't realise that you can't just say sherry cask or sherry butt. It's a whole world in itself. So it's up to us to put the details to that, and that helps the visitors, and they enjoy that kind of thing for the most part. Yeah.
Would you say you have more newbies to whiskies, aka tourists, or more connoisseurs, passionate people?
Yes, I think for the warehouse, it's generally people who have a reasonable knowledge, a good grounding in whiskey. Some of them, quite a lot of them, know more than we do. We get the enthusiasts as well. We get the real enthusiasts. We get, as I said earlier, we get repeat visitors. We get people who just know they are going to get a nice dram, and they'll make the effort to come and see us. But we're also a stepping stone. We're also a stepping stone for the people who are maybe in the early stages of their whiskey journey, and we are able to give them some lovely whiskey and a big chunk of knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, it's good.
And a $1 million question I forgot to put in my sheet. Have you seen about the Aqvavitae channel Roy Duff, who is from Glasgow? You know him maybe.
I know Roy. I've spoken to him a couple of times.
He did a wonderful, and I'm gonna still advise it. I'm sure all the people knows in the chat, but for those who don't know, he did some beautiful movies about Islay, and especially about the Scotch Test Dummies channel, Scott and Bart, who visited the island. It's a 2 or 3 parts video, and I especially praise the second one, but all are wonderful. And we see this pier and I wanted to know the story behind this big chair that's on the pier. Where does this come from? Where?
Yes.
I've seen you
Well,
and your wife sitting there as well, right? On the
yeah.
picture.
Well, no, there is a photo of myself and no, it's not my wife. It's
Oh,
Sarah.
it's a
It's my
visitor.
colleague that's sitting beside me. But no, it was so funny that particular day that these deck chairs arrived because we'd been told they were coming. One of our bosses had told us, "Oh, you've got deck chairs coming." Okay, and these things arrived, and they were, I don't know, 12 feet tall, 3.5 meters tall, and comfortably two people. So we built the first one up, and I could not stop laughing. I really couldn't stop laughing. And so somebody gave me a help up onto it, and I sat back in this thing, and Sarah, my colleague, she came and sat beside me, and we're just looking at each other and just laughing. We could not stop it.
But
But
they did
those
it in
deck
purpose
chairs were
so big.
great. Say again, Greg?
Sorry, they did it big in purpose. What was the
It was
idea?
on purpose, yes. They heard that one of the tour guides at Bunnahabhain was a very fat man and needed a big chair. So that was flat.
Okay, now I know. Thank you. This
so
was
so
the
we
most
put
important question. Thank you very
yeah,
much.
no, we put two of them on the pier, and so many people took their photographs on them. It
Yeah,
was
I
it
see
was it
that.
was wonderful.
Well,
So
you
they
have
will
to
be going. They
anchor
will be
this.
going back out again. They will be going back out.
Well, you got to anchor this well so that it doesn't go
Oh,
out
we
with the
did.
wind.
They were well anchored.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
because the wind does sometimes blow at Bunnahabhain.
Okay. I have another question for you, and I'm watching the chat. Is many people are saying they pouring themselves beautiful. I never heard of a single cask 18 years old. Probably it's a special one. Also, we have Meno saying about the different sherry cask you use. And I wanted to point out, I don't have the picture here, it's on my website. One of the most beautiful Bunnahabhain
Yeah, Bunnahabhain.
tried
Yeah.
recently. It was 20 years old, distilled in 1997, bottled on April of 2018 at 54.9, and it was a Palo Cortado finish, absolutely wonderful. But according to the price, almost 400 euros, I couldn't get it.
Yeah, it was. It
but
wasn't. It was an expensive bottle, and
but at
I
least
cannot.
I tried it, and I can tell how beautiful a Palo Cortado finish can be. Same for a
Well,
Dean 1997. I have a sample. I don't have the bottle, but it's beautiful. I know you have others, right?
I have a whiskey friend in Canada who messaged me only 2 nights ago, and she asked me if she had just managed to pick up that Deanston bottle you're referring to, and she was
Oh,
asking me if it was the same casks as the Bunnahabhain that you referred to, and I haven't got an answer to that yet, but I suspect that it will be because
okay.
Palo Cortado casks are very, very rare.
Yeah, I know.
The
I heard of
sherry
it.
itself, less than 2% of the sherry produced in a year is a Palo Cortado. So it was again, I go back to quality of casks, the commitment that the distille have made to the casks that we use. And for a distillery to commission casks that have been conditioned with Palo Cortado sherry is huge. But personally, I think it's been worth it because those two whiskies have been met with total approval. Personally
And
speaking, we've had
yeah,
5, so far, 3 out of the 5 casks, hogsheads, Palo Cortado hogsheads, have come through Warehouse 9.
ooh,
They were numbered 15 through 19.
wow.
And I've got that one with
Oh
me
my
tonight.
God. Ah,
So
would I
this
love to
is
try this one.
so this is 9 years in bourbon and a 3-year finish in the Palo Cortado.
Wow, wow, wow.
Um,
Fantastic.
And I'm just going to have to pour some.
Oh yeah, enjoy it, my friend. And we have a question here for you
yes.
from Graham.
Get a chance to visit other distilleries. We do. We have to do it under the pseudonym of business trips.
Training.
With training, usually training. Nothing's moved this year, Graham. Nothing's moved at all. But last year we managed to get out to Distill, to Deanston, excuse me, for a sherry training session. Now, I talk about sherry cask all the time. People get fed up listening to me talking about sherry cask.
We get another question.
Yeah, and I'm quite geeky about it. But we had a lady by the name of Rosemary Brown. I think I've got her name right there. And she is a master of wine or whatever it is. I can't remember the title, but hugely knowledgeable. And she did a sherry training exercise with us, where we got to taste 10 different sherries.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, yes. It was...
I did
aside from the educational...
4 or 5 only.
Yeah, aside from the educational side of it, the liquid side of it was just wonderful. So yeah. But yeah. So let me see Peathead's question. Yeah. Is there still enough sherry produced to meet the demands of sherry casks from the industry? I'm going to say yes, Peathead. Yeah. Because
I would have said no.
To my mind, the sherry industry is in 2 parts, and it really came about in 1986. Because if we go back a period of time, the sherry casks that we got were traditionally the transportation casks.
Yeah.
So sherry was a popular drink, particularly in Great Britain. The sherry would be produced down in that tiny little corner of Andalusia, the triangle that we talk about, put into these transportation casks, into boats, sailed across Glasgow, Edinburgh, London, Bristol. Bristol, the epicenter of the sherry industry. All these sherry houses down in Jerez with English names. Osborne and Humbert and Williams, and even Gonzales Bias. Bias was an English merchant. So it was a huge thing in Britain. And the casks came across, the sherry was decanted into bottles, and the casks were available for the whiskey industry.
Oh, you mean Gonzales Bias?
Yes, Bias was an Englishman.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was an Englishman. But things started to change. Some of the sherry was getting bottled in Jerez. But in 1986, the DO turned round to the sherry houses and they said, okay, you're making this beautiful fortified wine here. You're calling it sherry, Jerez, whatever name you want to pick. If you want to keep doing that, then you're going to have to bottle it here.
Yeah.
And as soon as they said you must bottle it here, that meant no more transportation casks. No more transportation casks.
Yeah. That's the turning point.
We want casks. We've got to go and get them. So to my mind, the sherry industry kind of split into 2. You had the people making the wine, and you had the tonnellerias. You had the cooperages. So we buy casks from the cooperages. And they will build the casks, and they will buy the liquid to condition the casks.
Yeah, is it fair to say we have more seasoning than long maturation sherry?
Absolutely.
I regret that.
There are still some transportation casks in the system, but they're tired.
Yeah.
It's
That's always a variation.
It's 34 years since there was a transportation cask. You don't get a lot of Solera casks. The sherry houses don't let their Solera casks go.
That's the point.
So that's why Solera cask whiskey commands an enormous premium price. Now, you could argue till the cows come home whether Solera casks equals quality.
I don't
You
know.
know, yeah, that's what I'm. We could knock it about all night, but
Oh
it
yeah, yeah,
commands a price. It commands a price,
yeah.
but there aren't many of them. So most of the casks are conditioned casks now. That's a fact. It doesn't make them bad casks.
No, I know, but
Those
things
Palo,
actually,
those
the
Palo
profile
Cortado
changes, right?
hogsheads, yeah, those Palo Cortado hogsheads are the perfect example. They are beautiful little casks. They're churning out this stuff, this dram here, and it's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
I'm sure.
I you mentioned earlier about favourite drams, I think, Greg.
Yeah.
Right now,
Oh,
anything that we do in a Palo Cortado cask is my favourite. Absolutely, it's just gorgeous.
then we have a question of Luna.
Luna, the sherry would not have been in the casks for
Yeah,
all that very long.
they have to empty it at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing like as long as a conditioned cask. But
Then we have another
what you
question.
have to remember as well, though, is back in those days, I mean, the sherry was getting transported to Britain in the hulls of ships for a couple of 100 years. Sherry started travelling about the world 500 years ago in ships. But how long does a ship take to sail from Spain to Britain? Not all that long. But people didn't drink quality whiskey in those days. It's all
Yeah, they don't drink enough sherry now to sustain the industry, as I understand, enough to also sustain the whiskey industry. That's why this seasoning.
Yeah.
Also because distilleries are sometimes in a hurry to produce no age statement whiskies that are supposedly more suitable to new audience, which I believe.
Yeah.
At the risk of being less interesting to people like me, but I don't know. It depends. There are beautiful no age statement examples and beautiful age statement not so great examples. I don't know if you can answer the question. It's technical.
Best in process condition. What is the time, temperature? Can't answer that one. Sorry, Doug.
It's a bit technical.
I can't give you the numbers on that one.
But I think we can answer to this one, right?
Yeah,
both.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Solera casks, they don't want to let them go. 50, 100, sometimes 150 years. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all right. The gram is right.
I think
Luna is right.
I think the other thing as well is that if a cask has had, and they're all white oak, they're all American oak, the Solera casks. If they have had liquid in them for that length of time, I imagine that it would be pretty difficult for them to do the chemical work that you need for those early parts of maturation, that subtractive maturation, where the cask is knocking the edges off your new spirit.
And same for for European oak as well. People we come across here with not sherry but cognac and Armagnac casks, and even if we can find 70 or 80 years old cognac, most of the time they are re-racking in other casks.
Sure.
And then they stop the aging. I don't know if the same is whiskey. I don't think so, because it doesn't last so much. And a few exceptions that Gordon MacPhail did release, 70 years old, 75, Glenlivet or Mortlach. But it's an exception, right? Most of the time in cognac industry, for instance, they will stop the aging and put the whiskey into demijohn, where the cork is so thick and so long and so tight that there is no interaction whatsoever with the air. So it is an aging stopping process. And that's why you can have I tried some 1820 cognacs a few years ago, and it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But then the problem is when in the whiskey industry, people combine very old cask with younger ones and then put some caramel in it, and etc. I was poured one exceptional drum, I have to say, by the man with the, and I was a bit the most expensive drum I ever had. I don't know, more 58 years old. Poured by the man himself, the nose himself. I was very privileged. I was happy to try that. He told me the oldest casks were from 1878, and it was a 58 years old. It was good, but there were so much interactions and change of casks and different five maturation. I don't know.
You were so privileged, Greg. You couldn't tell him that it was rubbish.
No, I didn't. But you know what I did once, because I'm a bit too frank sometimes. Richard poured me a Dalmore 40 years old.
Yeah.
Greg, what do you think of this one? I said, I like it, but too much. It has a bit too much sulfur in it. Oh, no, Greg, you can't say that. He was very upset.
I mentioned my friend Ian at Lagavulin earlier, and out of season, 3 of us went down to Lagavulin and we did one of Ian's warehouse tastings.
One of the things I want to do.
Yeah, well, at that time he had, a cask. But then he had his special cask, which he finished the tasting off with. And I think at that time it was either 50 or 51 years old, this particular Lagavulin.
But the profile changes, right?
Well, he went, he got the whiskey and he brought it back, and we each got a dram of it, and we sipped it and we tasted it, and we looked at him and he just kind of went.
It was not good, right?
It was rotten.
There's a possibility always.
It was over the top and it was done, but he knew himself. He knew.
I have to say I struggled sometime, and you might not want to hear that, but I said it already and in my website. I struggled someday with a pour of the Bunnahabhain 40 years old.
Okay,
official, which I found the nose wonderful, but for me the palate was too much oaked for me, too much eucalyptus and cedar, and compared to this one, this Adelphi, there was no.
Our 40-year-old is a funny whiskey, because that was the casks.
But then there are batch variations, so.
Yeah, but the casks for the original 40-year-old were something called Turney casks, Turney, and Giant Turney were grocers and wine merchants in Glasgow in the middle of the last century, and they were kind of the Harrods of Glasgow. And they were well known for getting casks, the best quality casks you could get, best quality casks, and commissioning distilleries to fill them. And that was the casks that were in the 40-year-old that came out. And I genuinely don't know what the casks were, where they came from, or anything really anymore about them. But they had a strange start in life.
Anyway, I don't say that every 40 years old official is bad. That's not what I'm saying. But the one I had maybe 5 years ago or more.
Yeah, I think it was the first batch. Yeah,
the first edition. It was.
Yeah,
I was very privileged to try 2,500 euros, while this one was 219.
Small difference.
3 casks, probably 40 or more. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I didn't really liked it. I didn't hated it either. But for me, it was too oaky for me, and too green. Green is the word.
I think hopefully if we can get you across, I will find you some of the current 40-year-old.
Maybe it's different. Probably it's different.
Yeah. As I say,
the 46 as well.
That first batch was these Turney casks, and a lot of people loved them. But hey, there's never been a whiskey that everybody has loved.
Yeah. Otherwise, there will be a shortage.
The beauty of the drink we deal with is that it's not. I say to people, there's no black and white in whiskey, except for a bottle of black and white. That's a different thing.
well placed. So for people who wonder about Dalmore, it's a brand I love. I in my video called 15 exceptional whiskies and affordable alternatives, there is a Dalmore in there.
Yeah.
And
not the Trinitas though. It's not the Trinitas.
No, it's 50 years old. It's the 50 years old from a few years ago. And there are also some vintages: 1973 Cabernet Sauvignon, 1973 Gonzalez Bias, which I still have a bottle. And a bottle. Now I see an interesting question, and I don't think there's a unique answer to that, right?
No, but thank you for the question, Graham. The ideal time in sherry cask
depends on the distillate.
Generally, I'm going to say 24 months is the kind of most common aging period. Hold on a little second. This is for aging whiskey. Sorry, I was back in the sherry conditioning thing. No, apologies. No,
I don't think so.
It's a how long's a piece of string question. That we currently have a warehouse 9 cask, which is 7 years old. It's a second fill Oloroso hogshead, and it's got Monia in it. Now you would think 7 years old, second fill. What a wonderful whiskey it is!
Oh yeah,
what a wonderful whiskey! It doesn't need any more. It's got everything that it needs.
Just to make sure we're all clear with that, when you say Moine, you mean peated, heavily
peated? Yes. Sorry. Excuse me. Yes.
No. I have the guess of it, but I want to make sure. Because,
absolutely. No, Monia.
This is a Moine.
Is the. I don't think I've got a bottle here. Moine is the spelling. It's pronounced Monia. Yeah.
No, the indie bottlers don't say Moine. Maybe it's only for official ones, but they say it on the marketing, and they say heavily peated instead.
Correct. Yes, and also something that's kind of crept into the independent bottling is the use of the name Margadale and the use of the name Stosha.
Elixir Distillers that for their.
Yeah, and people seem to want to attach some kind of a division to these almost as brands. Oh, it's a Stosha, or it's just a peated Bunnahabhain.
David, I have to tell you, we have 21 people watching currently, and we have dozens of questions about sherry. I cannot even keep up with it with them. So apologies, guys, if we don't answer to all. Let's see this one.
I promise what we'll do is, if it's okay with you, Greg, if you can collate the questions at the end, and send me a list of the questions, I will try my best to give you answers to all of them.
I'm not sure I can have them because they're on. Maybe you know what we can do, guys. I say to the chat, if you have really questions you think we didn't answer, please put them in the chat, in the comments. And if David, you have time, or I don't know how we're gonna do that because it can take a lot of time.
We will find a way.
We'll
find a way. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is for me. Well, nothing tells you I won't like it. As I know now, it's different batch, different recipe.
I can't believe my glass is empty again, Greg.
Yeah, me too. But I have the other one.
I'm just going to get a refill.
Yeah, and I'm going to try this Port Askeg, 14 years old, from 2 years ago, I guess. 45.8%, kind of Talisker-ish ABV. Pour ice cake most of the time is from Kulila, but this time it's from BUNNAHABHAIN. And what do you have here? Let us.
I've got something very, very special here. As you can see,
Oh my
I've
God.
got right Banner
Wow, wow, wow.
46 years old. I have to be very, very, very careful when I'm opening this because it's
Yeah,
so
please.
precious.
I saw the packaging is absolutely
Yeah.
awesome. The bottle,
It's
especially. Oh, it's a mini. They didn't let you take the big one, right?
I'm not insured.
Wow. What's the ABV of this one, David?
Let me put this
Yeah,
box is more expensive than that dram. Let me put this back.
heavy. No, it's not a giveaway. Don't think so, Manu.
Yeah. So no, for my next dram, I've got a little bit of my newest favourite cask out of Warehouse 9. So it's a 2004 Pedro Jimenez Noe.
Ooh.
And it's 54.1%. Now, there will be people who will probably come on to have a look at this particular visit and will see me drinking this whiskey. 16 years old. It will be 17 years old on the 18th of February next year. It has spent its whole life in a cask that was conditioned with Gonzalez Bias Pedro Jimenez Noe Sherry. Now, Pedro Jimenez, traditionally very dark, very sweet, except not much colour at all.
It's a refill.
So let me tell you, no, it's not. It's not. This is the crazy thing. So let me tell you a story about this. This is cask 556. And 3 years ago, we were lucky enough to have cask 555 in warehouse number 9. And it's beautiful. It's a sherry bomb. You smell it. It just, you know what it is. It's a sherry bomb. And you look at it and it looks like a 6-year-old bourbon barrel. Very, very light colour.
It still has some color on my camera, on your camera.
The first one, the one 3 years ago, honestly, was so light. It was the colour of the wall behind you there. And it was a mystery to me because in my head, sherry cask, all these years, dark. It's got to be dark. What's wrong with this whiskey? And I spent about 7 or 8 months pouring this whiskey.
Some are indeed.
Look at that, yeah. I spent 7 or 8 months pouring this whiskey for people because it was a big, full-size sherry butt, and it took us a long time to get through it. And I would pour this whiskey, and everyone would go, "Oh, look at it, it's very light. Oh, it smells nice. Oh, it's lovely. It's beautiful sherry cask. But why is it this colour?" And I had to say, I don't know.
Did you talk about that with Julianne, maybe?
Well, no, I didn't, because what happened was when the cask was very, very nearly empty, I had a visit to the distillery from 5 gentlemen who were coming to do a warehouse tasting. Now, these gentlemen arrived. They were very, very well presented, and it was great. I knew straight away that they were Spanish. Knew from their accents they were Spanish, but their English was perfect. They were just better English than me. We left the shop to go to the warehouse, and I said to these 5 gentlemen, I said, I realise you're from Spain. Whereabouts in Spain are you from? Oh, we are all from Jerez.
Oh.
And my heart just went, oh, because I knew I was going to have to spend the next hour and a half trying to tell people things they already knew. They were going to know more than I ever knew. I knew that.
Or maybe not.
We went to the warehouse. No, they did. They did. We went to the warehouse, Craig, and I promise you, we had a fantastic tasting. We worked through the casks. We talked. The end of the tasting, they were so nice. They said to me, well, to put it in context, it turned out that all 5 of them were in the sherry industry.
Ah, there you go.
3 of them were directors of Lustau.
Wow, professional visit.
One of them, his family owned a bodega, sherry house.
Fantastic, very interesting.
The fifth gentleman, I'm taking, as we're going out of the warehouse, taking him out, and he gets a hold of my shirt. He says, David, he says, fantastic tasting. He says, do you know the cask down there? He says, Gonzalez Bias. He says,
it's mine.
My wife is Bias.
Oh.
And I'm like, but the beauty of it, Greg, was that they explained to me when we were tasting the sister cask to this one, which, as I say, is even lighter than this. When I was saying to them, I don't know why it's so light. They said, David, don't worry. Says, because sometimes VORS, very old rare sherry of more than 30 years old, because the Noe means 30 years old. The sherry was at least 30 years old. Sometimes that sherry loses colour. Oh. And I was like, what? How did I not know that? Where were you 6 months ago when I needed that information? So that was it. It was as simple as that. Sometimes
I think you will remember that all your life.
Yeah, it's in here now. And I was so delighted when the sister cask came in. And it's just beautiful. It's just lovely.
And I agree with this statement, even if I didn't do a tour with you and Ian, but I saw you both on video. So I think this could be right. And I hope to see you both before you retire, guys.
Well, I promise you, Ian and I are good friends. We'll go back a very long way because, as I say, I used to be a bank manager. And Ian used to, well, he still does. He's got his, what we call a croft, which is like a small farm. Yeah. So Ian and his brother were my customers at the bank. And 2 more lovely guys you'll never meet. Ian is such a gentleman. I have so much time for him.
I saw Dave Broom's interview of him on YouTube. There's an absolutely stunning interview of Ian MacArthur. All the people have to check it out if they didn't already. There's a link on my website to it for a long time. It brought tears to my eyes. Honestly, the story of this man, of how he raised with the story of the distillery, how generous and funny he is during his tasting. It's a thing you also can see in Roy Aqvavitae, Scott and Bart at I don't remember the title of the video. Please help me, guys. But it's.
Well, I'll tell you one more thing about if you were to go to one of Ian's tastings.
Oh, Greg, I hope.
And that is that one of the things that Ian does is he pulls a valence full of whiskey out and it goes into a big tube like that and he shakes it.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he gets it all frothing up and there's bubbles in the top of it. And he gets a big scoop out the bubbles. And he finds the first bald man and he rubs it all over their head.
I know, it's a baptism.
So you would get that.
No problem.
I've already had it.
No problem. I saw Scott. Scott had it in Roy's video.
Good. Yes.
And there you go. The title is Scotch Test Dummies in Islay. Please, people, all watch that. I don't know if you're in. I don't think so. You are in this video, but there's a memorable episode with Ian, and Scott get his baptism under the cap.
They try to keep me out of videos, Greg. They say that I have a wonderful face for radio.
Well, it's true, but also no. I mean, something we'll see later on. If we manage to go up to all the questions.
I told you we'd talk too much.
No problem. As long as people are entertained and the connection is okay. So I think we're in the middle of what you were saying, what is to work and live in Islay? A blessing?
Sure, I gave you a little bit of my kind of history of coming to Ireland.
No, but for people who didn't know you.
So when I worked in the bank, I started off in the town of Helensburgh. We mentioned that right at the very start of this. I did two years working in Helensburgh, and then I moved to a town called Clydebank. Now, Clydebank is essentially the very west end of Glasgow, and I worked there for 10 years. Now, it was very urban. It was very kind of city banking, and I had a strange something at the back of my head said, I wonder what it would be like to work on an island. And a job came up. It wasn't a job in Islay. It was on an even smaller island, an island called Tyree. It only has a population of about 700 people. It's basically a rock out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. There's one tree, and they take it in at night in case the wind blows it away. So that kind of gives you an idea. I applied for the job and I didn't get it because it was, at that time, it was a few grades of a jump. And to be honest, there was a gentleman in Oban who'd been promised the job, so he got it. And less than a week later, the staff department, human resources of the bank, phoned me up and said, how would you like to work in Islay? And I said, I don't know. I don't know anything about Islay. Give me 10 minutes. So I hung up the phone and I phoned my wife, I phoned Heather, and I said, can you look out the map? Because you didn't have internet in those days. You didn't know anything. I said, look out the map and look up the island of Islay. Okay, yeah, I can see it. I said, is there a little red flag on the map for a golf course? Yeah, there's a... I said, do you want to live there? Yeah, okay. So that was it. I went back to them. I says, yeah, we'll try this. So I came to Islay. That was 1991. Started work. Brought the family across. My daughters were 6 and 3, 5 and 2, thereabouts, those kind of ages. And I got 1.5 years working here. And then I got a promotion. I got my first bank manager's job, which was back in the mainland. And you couldn't turn it down because that was career suicide. So I accepted and I went to the mainland and I lived in Ayrshire for 5 years. I lived in Kilmarnock, which at that time, Johnny Walker was still going in Kilmarnock. Now, sadly, Diageo did the dirty on Johnny Walker in Kilmarnock and shut the place and put 900 people out of work, which was a bit sad. But we lived there for 5 years, and in 1998, I get the chance to come back, and that was when I came back. So came back to Islay because I loved the place. Just that 1.5 years was enough to give us the flavour. You come back, you're living on an island of 3,000 people. You talk about the 6 degrees of separation in the world. You can connect everyone up through 6 different kind of... On Islay, if you don't know somebody, you know somebody who knows them. It's 1 degree of separation in Islay, and it makes it a very close-knit community. It makes it a very supportive community. If things go badly, you have friends that you didn't know were friends, and it's just so good that way. It's a wonderful island to live on. It's got so many beautiful spots. It's got history.
But in winter, David, how is life in winter in Islay?
It's the same, only darker.
Okay, yeah. The sun gets down very early.
The local attitude is much the same. The tourist season is getting longer and longer. Okay, this year we can't count this year.
I know.
But previously, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you'd have said that the tourist season starts at Easter, maybe May, and stops in September. But now we would still be very, very busy here in October. We would have a quiet
Fantastic.
November, and
I
then
would have
Christmas New Year we
loved
would be busy.
to come in November. It's my birthday in November, but with the COVID, forget it.
Hey, next year,
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah,
or the year after, or whenever.
sure. You can count on me. There's a
It's
question for you because
let's do bottle watching.
you heard some birds. Can you?
Okay, right. Let's do all this in one go because time's rolling.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So let's talk about my bird watching skills are available on my Twitter account. So David J. Brodie, you maybe find me on there, or if Greg puts up a link. There's a couple of aspects to my Twitter account. I went on to Twitter about 9 years ago, 10 years ago, and
longer than me.
I used it in the same kind of ways as most people use it to start with. But then it started to take a bit of a slant. It seemed to go off the rails a little bit. The bird watching was simply from the fact that I would be out walking the dogs about with Heather. I'd be taking photographs. There's amazing wildlife on Islay.
Yeah, heard of it.
But I'm rubbish at it. I don't know what any of them are, right? Even if I look at the book and I look at the photographs, I don't know one bird from another. So I just started making up names for the birds that I was seeing. Some of the names I've now learned properly, but the old names still stick with it. So the likes of a heron. A heron is a great big seabird, big sharp beak, big long legs, and I called it a Hebridean flamingo.
Ooh.
And it will never be anything other than a Hebridean flamingo to me ever again. My daughter bought me a T-shirt with a picture of a duck on it, and it said, overdressed duck thing. That was one of my descriptions. So I've no idea about what the birds are. I just guess, but I wanted people to see the photographs. That was it. That's my bird watching.
When did the weather forecast type short video came in?
Yeah, that started. I think that started when I was in the early days at BUNNAHABHAIN distillery, because when we were upstairs in the shop, I used to sometimes go through to talk to Lillian in the office.
Now, I just discovered them recently.
Yeah.
So
well, I've got to be honest. I shouldn't really be admitting to that, because Andrew, the distillery manager, and particularly Stephen Woodcock, who is basically in charge of all the production of the spirit across the distilleries. He might hear this. So Stephen, don't listen, okay? But I used to go through and just have a chat with Lillian, and I would look out our windows because we've got those wonderful, wonderful views. And one day, I just took a photograph with my camera, with my phone, and I put it onto Twitter, and I just said, weather through a window at BUNNAHABHAIN.
Oh, it started like that. Fantastic.
Just like that, weather through a window at BUNNAHABHAIN. And then I did it again a day later, and I did it again a couple of times. And then when we went into the not the shop we're now in, not the news shop, but the last news shop, there was a window at the back. And again, I would just do a click, weather through a window, weather through a window. Then, when I was out walking the dogs, I started to get the chances to just do a little video. Just say, this is what the weather's like today. Have a look.
Let me tell you something, and to your boss, please. BUNNAHABHAIN boss, this is one of the best marketing thing you can find to make people want to go to see David and to see the distillery. So please don't say anything to him against that.
So to be honest, Greg, now when I go out, because I only work about half the week, I'm part-time. I work maybe 3 days a week. So when I'm not working, if I'm out walking my dogs, I will always just take a minute or 2 minutes, and I'll just tell people, because I'm walking in beautiful places.
And you want to share it, and
I
that's we
want to
like
share it.
about you.
There's people all around the world want to see what Islay looks like, and it's if people are looking at these and they're just getting 1 minute out their day that makes them feel a little bit better, then fantastic.
I think
I
you have
love the
your
fact that
answer
people
tonight
watch
in
them.
the
You know,
chat. You
yeah,
have
it's
your
great.
answer tonight in the chat. People agree with you.
Yeah.
So read that.
Delighted. Yeah.
Um, we're gonna bring quickly a bit sadder point. You know what it is, because
Sure.
just for a short moment, but it also about reviving good memories.
Sure.
I'm just gonna show something on my own and then put you back so people can
Absolutely.
see. I want to talk with you about a man I met in 2009 in a French whiskey show, and also the occasion where I tried one of my favorite expression of Bunnahabhain.
Yeah.
And this is, and correct me if the pronunciation is bad, John McClellan, sorry,
John McClellan. Yes.
who worked, and I bring you back,
Yeah.
who worked in the whiskey industry for a long time, and at your distillery from 1989 since 2008, and then he moved to Kilchoman.
Yeah.
And he started as a mashman and became distillery manager in Bunnahabhain in 1997,
Yeah.
and was nominated Best Distillery Director along with Eddie McCaffer later on. So I let you, and he passed away 2016. He fought as much as he could with cancer.
Yeah.
But
Very
I
hard
let
fight.
you please say a
Absolutely.
word to him.
No. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Greg. Yeah. A lot people who are whiskey fans who have been drinking whiskey for a number of years will know John
Great
and
man.
know of him. I may occasionally slip in and use the name Jonach. Jonach was his kind of nickname. Even Lindy, his widow, always referred to him as Jonach. So I'll probably say John. I'll probably say Jonach.
No problem.
I never worked with him. Okay, he had left Bunnahabhain before I arrived to start my tour guiding. So I never actually worked with John, but I have essentially known him or knew him all my time on Islay. When we first moved across, as I say, back in kind of 91, 92, Heather and myself, we had our two daughters, Katrina and Lorna. They were 6-year-old and about 3 years old. So they were kind of, I do love them, but they kind of restricted your social life. So you didn't get out very much. So you formed groups of friends. And we had a very special group of friends at that time. There were 4 couples in total. There was Heather and myself and our two. There were Ray and Helen, and they had quite a few kids, 4 kids in total. There were John and Linda Logan, who had 2 kids the same age as ours, and there were John and Lindy McClellan, and Rosie and Sandy were their kids, and they were the same age as ours. And that was the kind of circle of friends that we had in those early days. And it was wonderful. You would take turns about hosting the other family circles at the house. The kids would play together, and the rest of us would get together and drink and have a good time. So that was the first that I knew him. We went away, and we came back in 1998, and by that time, Hamish Proctor had left Bunnahabhain, and I have to say Hamish Proctor was also a fine man, and I had the pleasure of working with Hamish's granddaughter, Elise, at Bunnahabhain for the last 3 years. She's away up to Dufftown now to stay with Hamish, to stay with our gran and papa. But Hamish had gone, and John was then the manager at Bunnahabhain distillery. He'd moved into the exciseman's house on the Bunnahabhain land, and we spent some time together. But the kids had moved on, and this kind of group of friends kind of had split apart. But I still stayed in touch regularly with John, with Jonach, and there's a couple of incidents I'd like to refer to. Now, let's just say I'm at least an XL in a shirt now, and maybe an XXL. But there was a time when I could run about a little bit, and I played a bit of football, and so did John.
Nice.
And back in those days, there was a very well contested football match down on the Rins of Islay, which is the Bricklade, Port Charlotte side, and the games were between Port Charlotte and Portnahaven village. And these games were the kind of the Rangers Celtic or the Man City Man United games of Islay. And one particular night, John and myself were playing in the same team for Port Charlotte. We're playing against the Portnahaven team. Now, Portnahaven is a tiny, tiny little village, but in the middle of summer, they can bring in the ringers. They can bring in the people who are very, very good at the game and who play in a far more serious way than the boys in Islay do. And we somehow managed to beat Portnahaven 2-1, and I got one of the goals, and Jonach got the other one. And it was like a sporting triumph. What a celebration we had in the back of that one.
Ooh.
Two aging, unfit guys managing to score against serious football players. It was wonderful. But my abiding memory of John, and maybe this isn't suitable for some people's ears, but we also played a little bit of golf from time to time together. And I can remember playing in a competition with John at the Macquarie, and this was the old layout of the course. It's all changed now, but the old layout of the course, I have to paint a picture for you here. We were playing on the 15th hole, and we were on the tee box at the 15th hole. Now, the tee box itself was elevated, and then it dropped down, and you had some rubbish that went up, and then some long grass, and you got to the fairway, and it was about a 40-yard carry to get to the short grass of the fairway. The fairway itself was what you call lazy beds, which are kind of for farming, up and down and up and down and up and down, but short grass. So John's on the tee, and he was a competitive golfer, but he was crap. Okay, he was rubbish. All right. So he's on the tee, and he hits his tee shot, and he barely gets the club onto the ball. He tops it, and the ball takes a big spin forward, and it manages to just hop over the rubbish, and it catches the back end of the first lazy bed, and then it takes off like a scalded cat. And it runs another 200 yards right up the middle of the fairway to the edge where there's a marker post before you change direction to the green. And he is in the absolutely perfect spot. He's just hit the worst shot in golfing history, and he's ended up perfectly. And he turns round to me and he says, "That's a sister-in-law drive." You know? And I'm like, "A sister-in-law drive, John? What do you mean?" He says, "You know you shouldn't be up there, but it feels really good."
I think I got it. Okay. Well, it's good to have fun with someone who,
I'm sorry
about someone who's not there, but it's fun. It's fun.
That was John. That was John.
So did you met him after when he went to work for Kilchoman?
Yes, I met him off and on. I think, going back to being a little bit serious, I think John had the key to the box of secrets at Kilhoman, because
he's responsible for a lot of things
yeah,
there.
just me talking. In the early days, Kilhoman, maybe not so good. I think John made things a lot better for them. I don't know how. Maybe he just had a better idea of what they should be bottling. I don't know that he changed anything with regards to how they made their spirit. I don't know if he changed their casking policy, but certainly I think the products going to market just improved so much after he went there, and they've continued to do so. You know,
yeah.
Robin Bignall is doing a fantastic job. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Great. I love Kilhoman. I think they're a great place.
I want you to please have a look at this comment. I think you will like it, and I agree with it.
Cheers, Dave. Thank you. Thank you. No, I know he's drinking tonight, so maybe the drinks affected his judgment.
I don't think so. So that leads us to another one of your impressive quality and warmth in your life that I discovered a few months ago. You just dropped a few extracts of it on Twitter, so I said, "Oh, interesting." And then I went to your YouTube channel and said, "Oh, there's a bunch of songs." Music, baby, time for music now.
Well,
if
yeah.
People still can wait. What's your before going
I'll be
into?
brutally honest, Greg. My musical skills are very limited, but I love doing it. And when we went into lockdown, I found myself with a little bit of extra time, so there were a lot of people were putting music out onto the internet, and I managed to hook onto a Facebook page which was called the Doghouse Sessions, and I just thought, I'm going to put some tunes up on there. So I started doing it, and I started to get some good feedback. People seemed to be enjoying it, and I thought, well, I'm just going to keep doing this, because I love. Although for the most part I've always just played my music for myself, I love playing it, and I can't deny that when people enjoy it, it gives you such a buzz. It's great. It's absolutely great.
I'm answering to someone.
Aye, that's good.
Okay, so when you feel you're ready.
Yeah, you want a tune?
Oh, yeah. And I think the audience wants to.
How? Shouldn't speak with a pick in my mouth. How are we doing for time, Greg? Do you want one tune or two tunes?
Me, I don't. I will say the more you feel like.
Okay.
It's almost 2 hours and 22 people watching.
My
so
goodness.
You see?
My goodness. There's some real gluttons for punishment out there.
Okay. And there will be more in the replay.
Well, I'll aim to do two. Okay.
As you wish.
I will do one which is about leaving an island, and then I'll do one which is about coming back to an island. Okay. The first one that I'm going to do, I actually sung, I'm getting my years mixed up now probably, but I'm going to say 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, at my daughter's wedding. She got married at Ballygrant Hall, and I officiated the ceremony, although there was the local registrar was there to do the kind of legal side of it, but I was fortunate enough to officiate at our ceremony, and I also got a chance to sing this song. So hopefully the guitar's still in tune, and we'll sing this one. Well, the tide's on the tongue, boat must go away. Your sad eyes reveal what your heart cannot say. Every step to the quay is a mile on the way. from the island that can't stop you leaving today. Come again, sing the sandpiper's song. Come back to the island where you belong, and the island is home wherever you stray. It'll blossom its flower and welcome today. Well, they'll load up the boat, cast her away, as the waves show their teeth to the rocks in the bay. Turn your back to the hill, turn your face to the sea. Turn away from the island, leaving today. Come again, sing the sandpiper's song. Come back to the island where you belong, and the island is home wherever you stray. It'll blossom its flowers and welcome today. Well, the water is wide and the waves turn to grey. The island's behind you, a lifetime away. If you turn to the hill, you might see the bay. Turn away from the island, you're leaving today. Come again, sing the sandpiper's song. Come back to the island where you belong, and the island is home wherever you stay. It'll blossom its flower and welcome today. It'll blossom its flower and welcome today. It'll blossom its flowers and welcome today.
Fantastic. Oh, I love that, David. I love that. Thank you so much.
There we go. So that's one about somebody leaving an island.
Slanjava to you and to you all, guys. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I'll do one more to seize away. And it's the song which is, I think it's pretty much accepted that it's the Islay national anthem.
Oh.
We used to put it in the bottles. There used to be a little booklet went in with the words to this song.
Is it on the old tube? No.
It's probably in there. It's probably in there. There'll be a little booklet, perhaps.
Westering Home, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. So that's what I'm going to sing. Has that got the words on there? You can sing along then, Greg. That's good.
Oh, I'm not sure.
But yeah, we adopted this as our theme. However long ago that bottle came out, and it's all about this man on the bottle here. It's all about the helmsman who'd spent his whole life away at sea, and this was him making his way back to Islay. So I'll do this, and we can call it a day at that. So
okay, as you wish.
And this western home, song in the air, light in the eye, goodbye to care, laughter and love, welcome and there, I love my heart, my own one. Tell me our lands of the Orient gate, speak of the richest joys of Cathay. Aye, but it's grand to be waking each day, to find yourself nearer to Islay and its western home. Song in the air, light in the eye, goodbye to care, laughter and love, a welcome and there, Islay, my heart, my own one. Where the folk like the folk of the west, Canty and pretty, kindly the best. There a while I make, there a will rest. I came with my eight folk in Islay and its western home. Song I take care. Laughter and love, and a welcome and there. I love my heart, my own one. I love my heart, my own one. I love my heart, my own one.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Oh, that was great. I wish I could spend a whole night listening to you and have some beers and whiskey all along. I wish to do this someday, if you agree. And I
Go and
will
find your
play.
way, Tyler. Go and
I
find
will
your
play
way,
this.
Tyler.
I will play the percussion. Listen, it's been a blast. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you here, and I really hope it could last for hours. But I don't want to tire you and ask too much of you.
Work tomorrow, yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
Work tomorrow.
Okay, so thank you so much, David, once again. It was
My
lovely,
pleasure.
very interesting. I learned a lot, and hope all the best for the island, for you and your family. Things to come back at normal very soon, and also make everybody happy to come back visit your island or come for the first time.
Yes, yeah. The more the merrier. That's the
Looking
thing.
forward to that. And please, guys, check his channel. There will be a link into this description. Check his David's Twitter as well for the weather forecasts. And yeah, and yeah, please, if you can visit when it will be possible, go see the man, this man.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
David. Stay with
Thank
me
you,
a few
guys.
minutes if you like, after we
Yep.
stop just a few minutes.
You kick me off and then bring me back on when everybody's gone.
Okay.
Okay, man.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for your comments.
Cheers, guys.
Lots of love. Bye. See you soon.